Indeed, it is time for Who Ya Crappin on the Score. Terry always likes to say that we limit this to something someone said, not something someone did. It was better last week. We hope it stays good. We do have an open line if you want to jump in and fill out the first bank of callers here, 312-644-6767. And we begin with Gary in Evanston on the Score.
Hi, guys. I'm from the Philly area, but I was upset when the Flyers beat Montreal and denied UP a chance to be in the national spotlight.
I don't know if he's dead or alive.
Anyway, the slightly delayed but worthwhile crap is for Rush Limbaugh. In attempting on this show to ridicule President Obama talking to Rob Dibble about Kaminsky Park, Limbaugh misidentified Dibble as a White Sox announcer, sneered that Kaminsky must be a famous Russian communist, and very slowly and pompously pronounced Kaminsky accurately, but then proceeded to spell it C-O-M-M-I-S-K-E-Y. Now, I disagree with many of President Obama's policies, but if Rush is going to criticize him or anyone else for being factually wrong, then he had better be right. And I don't mean only in a political sense. And I've never heard of a famous Russian communist named Kaminsky. Rush Limbaugh, who are you crapping?
I heard that the president weighed in on the Galarraga thing. Mr. President, keep your mouth closed about baseball.
Yeah, and you're wrong, too.
Because you can tell that he didn't grow up loving baseball.
Basketball, yeah.
Yeah, you want to talk hoops with me? I'm fine, but keep yourself out of White Sox business.
Borges Weems says, today's biologically correct tape here is dedicated to Johnny Sports Phone himself, Les Grobstein. Toward the end of the first hour of his Memorial Day marathon, he played a bit of Kicks by Paul Revere and the Raiders, featuring Mark Lindsay as one of the show's 1966 music bumps. He spoke of being a big fan of Paul Revere and the Raiders, and mentioned the, quote, Civil War outfits they wore on stage. I understand the mind is a finite thing, and the shoe sizes of Don Landrum and Cal Kuntz necessarily eclipse other data, but the Revolutionary War, sort of a big thing. Paul Revere, sort of a big deal, at least publicity-wise. Well, genuinely grateful for your proverbial years of service. Fair game is fair game. Historian Les Grobstein. Who ya crappin? Unemployed lawyer in Lakeview. Hello, lawyer.
Hey, guys. Dan, you have some connections with the Blackhawks, right?
Well, it depends what you mean. Why?
Well, can you get them to move Game 5 to, Monday?
I heard you're getting married.
Yeah, my fiancé won't change the time of the wedding, so we got to move the Blackhawks game. So
what you got to do is you got to make sure there are flat screens at the reception, homie.
Does she know you don't have a job?
She does know that.
Okay, I didn't think you were living some kind of lie where you're pretending that you have a job and you leave the house with a briefcase or something. No, okay.
We started dating as a law student, and now she's in too deep. So what's she gonna do?
Maybe she has a really good job, and then you can stay unemployed.
I can't say that I would like that because she might be listening, but...
Well, congratulations and good luck.
Thanks. Last week, the president was asked by his daughter if he'd fix the BP oil spill. Glenn Beck, on his radio show Friday, did a falsetto impression of Malia Obama, mocking the 11-year-old and saying in part, quote, that's the level of their education, that they're coming to Daddy and saying, Daddy, did you plug the hole yet? Last Wednesday, Beck was enraged about a journalist moving next door to Sarah Palin to research a book. Quote, you don't go after Chelsea Clinton. You don't talk about the Bush kids. You leave the families alone. We've never done anything but protect the families. Glenn Beck, I'm just asking the question, who you crapping?
You know what's terrible
Some people like, and one thing we know it's true with this show, too, people like to listen to the things that make them mad.
You know what's terrible about the Glenn Beck stuff? Glenn Beck had actually done a brilliant show last week about the impact of African Americans throughout the history, specifically the Revolutionary War. And he brought out all of these pictures, all these portraits that have been painted, and pointed out black faces and did history on each guy. It was an hour-long show. It was brilliant stuff. It was so brilliant that I had to call my dad.
Was Crispus Attucks mentioned?
Barely, but there were a lot more people that even I didn't know played a big role in it. And the next day, man, me and my dad were like, "Wow, that's kind of cool that he did that show." And then, boom.
Paul from Oswego says Pierre Maguire said that Nicholas Hjalmarsson was Auntie Niemi's fellow countryman. I thought to be a countryman you had to be from the same country. Niemi is Finnish. Hjalmarsson is a Swede. Pierre Maguire is hockey's Tim McCarver. Pierre Maguire, who you crapping?
Everyone hates that dude.
Everyone hates him.
I've never seen that before, where it's like, oh, God, I hope Pierre Maguire doesn't speak again.
Why does everyone hate him? In Bolingbrook, blind chauffeur on the score.
Hello, boys.
Hello.
This crap goes out to Bill O'Reilly. Earlier this week, Bill said, quote, "So I am saying to myself, what exactly is James Cameron going to do about the BP leak? Send Leo DiCaprio down to plug this well? Why is this guy here?" End quote. Well, James Cameron has made several documentaries about deep-sea salvages, including one about the Bismarck and two about the Titanic. Oh, and by the way, Cameron did originally major in physics at Fullerton State College. Instead of being a tool, Billo, how about you do something to help, then ask yourself, who am I crapping?
Thank you, chauffeur. This is from 69 Pilots, who says, I ask unanimous consent to revise and extend my 2008 crap regarding Milt Pappas, who lost his bid for a perfect game in 1972 when Bruce Fremming correctly called ball 4 on a 3-2 pitch with 2 outs in the ninth. Pappas threw a tantrum on the mound, in notable contrast to the gracious restraint showed by Armando Galarraga, and has spent the last 38 years whining about the call. Pappas even admitted to reporters after the game that the pitch was a ball, but he wanted the call anyway. Yesterday, he called Fremming, at the time here, a complete idiot. And in a recent interview, Pappas asked, why didn't Fremming throw up that right hand like the umpire did in the perfect game with Don Larson? Really, Milt, you're going to throw Don Larson under the bus now? Reasonable people can disagree as to whether an umpire should give a pitcher a strike call to end a perfect game. But that long ago stopped being the issue here. Milt, 38 years of bitter pissing and moaning about that pitch is quite enough. Enjoy your no-hitter and the fact that you were lucky enough to play Major League Baseball. Milt Pappas, who you crappin'?
Hear, hear.
Yep, that is indeed stark contrast to see that. Not a good day for Milt Pappas when you see what Armando Galarraga both did and said from the moment it happened through the entire aftermath.
I hope that he's as nice as he seems.
I agree, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't have reason at this point to believe otherwise. Do you?
No, not at all. I just hope that would be nice for me, that he's as nice as he seems.
Matt in Glenview, you are on Who Ya Crappin' on the score.
Hey, Lawrence. Hey, Dan.
Hey, Matt.
This crap goes out to Mike Sweeney. Upon hearing that the 40-year-old kid, Ken Griffey Jr., announced his retirement, Mike said, you can't replace Ken Griffey Jr. on the field or off the field. Well, Mike, I'll give you off the field, but on the field, I can think of a bunch of guys that could replace him, like yourself. Mike, in 89 plate appearances, you've got 23 hits, 6 homers, and 16 ribbies. Ken Griffey Jr. has 9 more plate appearances, but 5 fewer hits. He's also got no homers and 7 ribbies. Seems to me like he's pretty replaceable. Mike Sweeney, who you crappin'?
Next up is Doug on Who Ya Crappin' on the score. Fire away, Doug.
What's going on, boys?
You are.
Hey, Doug.
This one goes out to Ed Olczyk versus Colorman and Hawks Colorman, who claimed that by getting punched in the back of the head, Chris Versteeg took a dive as his helmet flew off. Well, whether his helmet flew off or whether he took a dive or not, he got punched in the back of the head, and I think that that's a penalty. Ed, you're dead to me now, and who are you crapping?
That can't be true.
So over dramatic, Doug. That's what we're doing, and there is time and opportunity for you to join the party. Good start. Let's make a big finish or a big speed. 312-644-6767. Who Ya Crappin' on Boers and Bernstein on WSCR The Score. We are in the middle of Who Ya Crappin' because it's Thursday and it's around 5:20 and we've got another segment left and we've got a chance for you to jump in, fill out the caller bank for us at 312-644-6767. We can get right to you. This one was sent in by the prolific Beverly Brewmaster, who says, Daily Herald hockey writer Tim Sassone following Monday night's Hawks victory, putting them up 2-0. The usually hockey-savvy writer cautioned fans that the reality is the Hawks are facing easily their best opponent of the playoffs. Tim, I realize a team doesn't get to hoist Lord Stanley's Cup after 2 wins. And as recently as last year, a team dropped the first 2 games on the road only to come back and win it all. And yes, Philly won last night's clutch fest. But calling the Flyers the best opponent the Hawks have faced, and more specifically, easily their best opponent, well, I suppose the simplest way to evaluate teams is by wins. Of course, you go by points. The Flyers aren't even better than Nashville, let alone Vancouver or San Jose. In fact, the Flyers wouldn't even have qualified for the playoffs in the West. So let's look at goal differential. Using that stat, the Flyers are indeed better than Nashville, but not even close to Vancouver or San Jose. Goals scored, Vancouver and San Jose are better. Ditto goals allowed. And all of these stats were compiled with Philly playing in a weaker division. Simply put, there is no objective basis for concluding the Flyers are better than the Canucks or the Sharks. So, Tim Sassone, if you're going to claim Philadelphia as the Hawks' best opponent in the playoffs, qualify it with arguably instead of easily. And then you should make an actual argument. Otherwise, I have to ask you, who ya crappin'? Chris in his car on Who Ya Crappin' on the Score. Chris.
Yes, how are you?
Okay, how are you?
I'm doing well. Oh, this one actually goes back to you, Bernstein. Earlier today in the show, you guys were trying not to talk about the White Sox, which I think that everyone appreciates that. When you were saying that Alex Rios was probably the best player in Chicago baseball, and I agree with that, and I think Lawrence said that, actually, and when a few seconds later you said, well, I don't know, I'll have to check the numbers on Soriano, and then you stopped and started talking about something else, so I guess if you were just taking it off a hitting basis but not a fielding basis, you might have an argument, but have you watched Soriano play the outfield lately? Bernstein, who you crapping?
Just take it. Just take it.
Just take it.
Okay.
We can discuss it after 5:30 if you wish.
I'll be happy to show you that. This is from Joe, who says, last week, Dodgers third baseman Casey Blake accused Ted Lilly of cheating by pitching from in front of the rubber, saying, I know he's trying to get as much of an edge as he can, but he moved in. That's cheating. You've got to stay on the rubber. Well, not only does this brawny paper towel mascot look-alike rub out the back of the batter's box when he's up, but the previous week, the very same Casey Blake pretended to get hit in the foot by a pitch and limped as he dragged his Jay Leno chin down to first like some sort of French soccer player. So, Casey Blake, who you crappin'?
That's a good one right there.
That is good. That is good. Tinley Park Mark says, this goes out to the Bears' no rear-end tight end, Greg Olson, who said the fans who think the tight end role in the March system will be diminished don't know the system. Well, we don't need to know the playbook when the numbers speak for themselves. Last year, Olson caught 60 passes, the most a tight end has caught in any one of the 7 seasons under Martz is 38. Sorry, Greg, some of us can read. By the way, weren't you the one that was upset by the Martz hire? Apparently, you seem to have had similar feelings about the tight end position in this system. Greg Olson, who you crappin'? Makes your point, Lawrence. It's Sluggo in St. Charles on the Score.
Hey, Danny.
Hey, Sluggo.
This is my first crap.
Good luck with your first crap.
Thank you. This crap goes out to British Petroleum Chief Operating Officer Tony Hayward, who had the audacity to state that the oil spilling into the Gulf from their failed well was minuscule in relation to the amount of total water in the ocean. Yeah, Tony, I'm sure the amount of chlorine gas that was released over Bhopal was minuscule in relation to the amount of the total atmosphere of the world, but it didn't work out too good for the people of Bhopal. Your oil spill is not going to work out good for our Gulf Coast, so you need to figure out how to plug that well, then plug your limey pie hole, and ask yourself, who you crapping?
Wow.
Plug your limey pie hole.
Is it that time?
Not quite. I like the Union Carbide reference, though. This is from Gary's biggest fan, who says, this goes out to Lou Piniella. Regarding Tyler Colvin, Lou said at the end of spring training he needed to get Colvin 2 to 3 starts a week in an outfield rotation. This past weekend, Piniella said he'd finally start Colvin Tuesday night after not starting him since May 18th. In May, he started only 4 games. I looked at it again today, Piniella said. Where do we put him? Do I sit the left fielder down? Do I sit the center fielder down? Do I sit the right fielder down? One of them has to sit if he's going to play. Lou, what has changed since spring training? Colvin was your best hitter in the spring, one of your most consistent and top hitters in April and May. Soriano's the only one of the three you mentioned that improved from April to May. His on-base percentage went up. His home runs went up. Fukudome had a significant decline in on-base percentage, showed no power in May. Bird had a great April, but came back to earth in May. Colvin was consistent. Despite having about one-third the chances, the three players you can't seem to bring yourself to rotate as planned. Never occurred to you to let Colvin start for Bird or Fukudome in May as their numbers started to slide. Furthermore, you could have played Colvin in the outfield once or twice when you give Derek Lee a rest and start an outfielder at first base. Your biggest blunders, you had 3 games in May with a DH. Did it ever occur to you to start the worst fielder in baseball, Soriano, at DH and put Colvin in left instead of starting 2 catchers? Lou, I answered your 3 questions. Yes, yes, and yes. And now it's your turn to answer my question. Who ya crappin?
Terry left me his manometer.
He did.
Guess where he got it?
The real one or the backup one? Because there's a presentation manometer, and then there's the replica manometer that's in the NHL Hall of Fame.
I've got the backup.
Okay.
But guess where he got it?
Mantino?
No, Manitoba.
In Manitoba. Well, because there's Canada
backup,
and hockey, it's the backup one. I know that's where they keep it. Well, the pressure will be borne by St. Dutchman in Holland, Michigan, to close out Who Ya Crappin on the score. Dutchman!
Hey,
buddy.
Hey, first-time crapper.
Oh, boy.
Good luck with your first crap.
Yeah, the pressure's on. Okay, Bernsey, I got you because earlier today when you were talking about the World Cup and its extracurricular distractions, you stated that England was usually the most talented team, but they imploded because of these off-the-field distractions. Well, I should probably cut you some slack because you do such a good job covering American sports. You don't have a whole lot of time left over to cover the world's most popular sport. So let's look at the evidence. Since 1966, the last and only time England won the World Cup, they've run into some distractions on the field like, Germany, France, Spain, and Argentina, and a little team called Brazil. Dan Bernstein, who you crappin'?
You make us wonder with the things you say. Maybe you were having an off day. You must have thought that we were napping.
Hey, buddy!
Who you crappin'?
For the record, it was neither one of us who said that. You were reading that from a listener.
Well, that's your opinion.
No,
True.
That's what happened.
That's your prerogative.
That's okay.
It was his first crap.
It's his first one, and after it, a weeping Jim Joyce gave me a manly salute.
That's why I don't read the newspaper.
Jim Joyce looked at me, and as the tears trickled down, his combination of it's like a handlebar Fu Manchu. That's quite a thing.
It's a something.
Has anybody
I
done...
did not get the call correct.
I know you didn't.
I kicked but
Stop cursing at me!
This is a history call. And I kicked out of it.
Stop it!
And there's nobody that feels worse than I do.
And my mustache feels badly as well.
I take pride in this job, and I kicked out of that, and I took a perfect game away from that kid over there that worked his ass off all night. It's probably the most important call in my career, and I missed it.
I take so much pride in this job that I'm going to sit here in front of this microphone and curse like a drunken sailor.
Right. What is that? Who are you raised?
Stop cursing, Jim Joyce. It's fine.
Sounds like a sea captain or something. Yar, I kicked the crap out of it, I did.
I don't think there's much sense really talking about it. His performance was absolutely perfect. And
I did not get the call correct. I kicked but this is a history call. And I kicked out of it.
It's driving me nuts.
You keep talking, you ain't gonna fit nothing.